So since our last video, I've been trying very hard to figure out the process to incorporate what we learned on the USGS StreamStats website into the process that we're going to be doing for our county. In this case, it's Cabell County in West Virginia. And this is actually the results from looking and evaluating that. And I'll show you what we've done. And we basically duplicated what we achieved and what was achieved up in Ohio. On the stream stats, we took the DEMs, I merged them together, and created a single DEM. I think this one is it. Let's move that down here. And then from that, it was actually in meters, so we changed it to feet. And then we ran a direction layer and a stream layer, created a stream layer, so that we could do this. And let me show you how good this worked. This is pretty exciting. Let me get my stream back up here. So if you remember up in Ohio, what we did, man, I don't have my cross section here. I'm just going to go to a point on one of these streams. I'm going to go to a tool that is called Water.outlet. I'm going to use the direction layer that we created. I'm going to get coordinates. So this is really critical. So I'm going to pick coordinate right off the map, and it puts it right on there. And now I'm just going to run it. So now that we have those pre-staged layers, it creates our own basin for our county. Look how nice this is. I mean, I'll be able to measure square miles instantaneously almost once these are set up. And this is something I don't even have it work and do it work. It's a little bit more complex if you don't have these pre-staged layers. You know, you got to edit and measure and do some things. We still have to do some things with this basin, like we want to save it to a vector layer and actually measure the area. But man, this is a great tool. This is a great place to start for what we're doing. So that's what I want to show you, and I really want to go back to the beginning of our effort, and you know, like, because the whole thing is to set up a seed file that supports our BFE process. So let's do that now. I'm going to start from the very beginning. We're going to discuss a little bit about the version I'm using. I'm going to put these in the references below, but I'm using 3.02, and for no other reason. You know, I've had learning issues, so one of the things that they're using this version at work, so I thought, well, if it's good enough for work and they evaluate things a lot before they deploy it, I'm just going to use that version. Because at some point, I don't know if the problem is because it's a new version of QGIS or not. It might just be me. So I decided to stick with that version. And then also another neat thing is this reference that I got right here. If I go to that on my computer, which I'm going to do right now, I'll bring up a new window. I'll keep that reference down there. But I'm going to go to that directory, and in that directory there is a INI file. Now this is kind of an old school Windows file that saves all the settings. So for me to start over and to kind of show you what it's like just getting started, I'm going to hit delete on that INI file. And you can see I made a backup copy. I hate deleting things. So, but now when I click on starting, it'll be like new. It'll be like default. So when I click on this, it'll be like similar to the very first install when you put it on your computer. And you know, I'm going to start from scratch. I mean, just like starting over every once in a while. So let's get started. And what I want to show you is how I set the settings in QGIS and set up the project files. So this is what it starts. And this is how it starts. You can see that it checks for a new version. It puts these toolbars over here, which I don't usually use that one. I just use the layers. And it lists recent projects even though we don't have one. So I like it to start on a new project. So we're just going to go ahead and start looking at the settings. So I'm going to go into the settings, and this is for all of QGIS. You have options for all of QGIS, and then you have project options right here. And these can be for the, these are obviously for the project, but they're for every project. Okay, so you can have a custom project. You can create a project with different settings and then come back and set these. And once you set them, every new project will have these new settings. So that's something to be aware of. Well, I'm going to start on all of the QGIS settings. So, and set it up the way I like it for me. And a lot of these things I'd recommend just because a lot of them are for me, but a lot of these are, it just increases performance and sets up everything so it works together. So I don't like the splash screen. It just seems to take up resources and takes it longer to load. I actually like this style to be Fusion. It seems to be faster too. I tried a lot of different things. I don't want to check versions because I'm using this until I think I need to upgrade. And I've used native, tried these, and it seemed to slow them down, so I'm not going to recommend those. But here's one of the things I do change. What do I want to do when it launches? It shows recent projects, but I just want to get into a new project. So every time I launch it, it's going to create a new project. Unless I go down here and set up some other custom stuff, which I don't really want to do. I just want a new project every time. So then we'll go to the system. Nothing there I want to change. CRS, and this is a great projection to start with because that's Google Earth pretty much. So everything kind of matches with that projection. Data sources, nothing there I don't think we need to change. Rendering. Now here I do change something because by default I just have everything turned off when it attaches. And there's other ways you can do it, like you can turn off rendering for a second down here and turn it back on. But generally, I just want things to come up and be attached and let me turn them on when I want to. So I'm going to deselect that. There's a lot of cache and a lot of different things to look at here, but the default stuff, it works pretty great, actually. So I'm not going to change too much. Now, when I get to map tools, here's what I do want to change. Because, this is the US. We don't use meters. I mean, that's the bottom line. So I'm going to do feet. Let me see. What is this? Distance. So I'll stick with miles. Now, see. No, we'll measure in feet. Area, square miles. In reference angle units, I'm going to keep degrees. So this is pretty much how I want to set it up. Because if I'm going to measure something, it's going to be in feet. If I'm going to measure area, it's going to be in square miles. Because square miles is what the programs I use. Feet, if I'm going to measure something, that's what they use. So I'm setting them here. The rest of this stuff, I don't think there's too much else to change. So let me go through here and look. So I'm just going to hit OK. And immediately I'm going to exit out of that and restart it. We can see immediately the effects of that. So there's no splash screen. Now, since it's the first time, a lot of the things it does is have to write things and, it's writing new INI file information and things like that. So I think it'll be quicker next time. So here we are. We're at our first start. And, I'm going to go show you where the project settings are, project properties. And some of the important things here is like the path. We can see that we got our projection here from our project, our default settings, feet, square miles, map units in degrees. But then we're going to go to the CRS here. And for my project, I want a different coordinate system because we're going to be working basically in West Virginia. And, we want a projection that's in between like the world, which they try to make flat, and what it actually is local, which is round. So what we use to do that is, or what I use is a UTM projection. Let me see if I can find them. UTM, let's see, 83. Okay, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to actually just put my layer on here from our project, raster layer. And I got that on my desktop where I got my project here. I'm just going to put, well, I'm going to put our DEM on here. Where'd it go? Which one is it? That's it right here. I think that's the original one. That's the one I wanted to put. So if I right mouse click on here and look at the properties, information, we can see what it has. Here it is, UTM Zone 17 North, NAD 83. And that's what I want to use. That's the basis of everything we're going to be doing. And it should cause less problems. I mean, and that's why they do it. It's in between. It's UTM 17 North. So let's go to the project properties. And look, NAD 83, and here's a reference number 26917. Let's go back here and take a look at that number, 26917. So that's what we want. Project properties, 26917. Apply. So general, units feet, square miles, map units. Yeah, we don't want map units in meters. We want them in decimal degrees. Because when I measure something and when I want coordinates, I want it to be in decimal degrees all the time. Okay, CRS, we set that. Default styles, nothing there. Nothing here. Data sources, I don't see anything. So here we are. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and hit save. And they'll ask me where to save it because this is our seed file. You know, this is our new one. So I'm going to go to the desktop, which I think I've already got one in there called seed, which I just opened previously. So we're going to just, I'm going to call this seed new and hit save. And I'm just going to remove that because, you know, we're kind of starting from scratch. This is it. This is our seed file. And the first thing I want to do, and what I like to do, is set the project limits, set this project boundary. And our project boundary is Cabell County. I mean, that's our county. That's what we're going to be working on all the time right here when we're doing BFEs. So I'm going to go to our vector layers, and there's different ways to access that. I really like this browser because it takes us, you know, we could go to the project home very quickly, or we can go to our data. I'm going to do that real quick. You know, this is a new process, so I'm going to show you some of these things. So once I go to the data directory, I can right mouse click on that and hit add to favorites. So now I can go directly to that all the time. So here this is the files we downloaded in the previous video. And what I'm going to be working on right now is elevation. So here's all our elevation layers extracted into those subdirectories. In all of these, I just want the TIFF files. So I'm going to select all those. TIFF, so forth and so on. How many are there? Wow. So there's a bunch. And then once I get them all selected, this is the tool you want to add them. Add selected layers. Boom. There we go. And what I want to do is merge all these together. I'm going to collapse them, and then I want to turn them all on, show all layers. And then I want to hit zoom. So there we are. That's our project area. But before I do that, I also want to add a vector layer from the census. I'll just go this way. We'll do our census layer. And I want, and this is interesting on how to access these layers, because typically, if you go to census, what I downloaded, I just selected a bunch of data and downloaded it. But one of the formats is the ESRI-GDB format, which is an open file database. It's an open source file database. And some places in here, it's, you know, here you can see it and it comes up. But you know, if I was to select vector, and you know these things are by default, and I go to that same directory to look for my file under census. I get there and it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. So you have to know what that is if you're not in the browser. Because if I'm doing it here, I actually need to change that to a directory source type and then tell it that it is OpenFileGDB before I can get to that. So if I do it from here, I have to go FPMS, reference, data, census, and this is it. So that's what says select folder. So now when I select it and hit add, then it brings up all the tables that are in that file database, and I could add it that way. But I think this browser is much easier. You get to it, you see what's in it. So here I'm going to hit the county. I want the county layer. So here's all my counties in West Virginia. The other thing I want to do is group these things here together. Because I like it neat. I like things to be organized. It just makes it easier. So let's take a look at this layer. Oh, look how nice it is. Now one of the things that you can see really quick. Let me see if I can show you this. If I go here down to the projection, it says what it is here. Let's see if I can change it to like a WGS real quick. Let's find it. Now here, WGS. Here we go. 84 and apply. Do you see what that did? Do you see what the difference? So now I'm reprojected it to be flat and global. But if I change it to UTM, you can see how it affects your state, and then it puts both those projections here. So I'm going to go back to north and apply. And see, now it has that nice compact look. And that's what I'm used to looking at. That's what I like, because this is the UTM because I'm used to working in. So one of the things I wanted to show you about the layer here, and this was what was downloaded from the NRCS geospatial portal. I just want Cabell County. So this is a really neat feature I want to show you. If you go to filter, this is all the field names that are associated with that layer, and one of them is name. So I'm going to double click on that, and I'm going to say equal. And I can go over here and hit, since it's on the name, it's highlighted, I can hit sample, or I can hit all. It's not a big layer, so you can hit all. Well, I just select that, and look what happens. Now, it filters it. So now I have just my county. Well, I want to do duplicate. So I want one that has all of my counties on it. So I can go back here to the filter and turn that off, basically. So now I have two layers very quickly. One that shows the whole county, and one that just shows Cabell. So I think that's pretty cool. So you can spend a lot of time on that. But one of the things I'm going to do right now is I'm going to remove this because I don't want the whole state. I'm going to save this because I want this. I'm going to put it back in my my main reference out on F drive because I'm going to keep that. Because you can do things with files. I don't like to. Sometimes you have to go through a lot of processes to get to a file you want. Well, I don't want to keep all the junk file. I just want to keep what I need. So I'm going to go to reference data, and this came from the census, and I'm just going to stick a shape file in there. I'm not sure what's. I got to change that up here. Esri shape file. Okay, here we go. Typically, the Esri shape file seems to do best on QGIS. I'll go back to where I was. Census, throw it in the census because this is, county, Cabell. And then hit OK. So it's done. Now I have the file here. I'm going to remove this. It's just kind of temporary. So that you see how you can filter stuff. There's a lot of other things I'll show you here as we move along, like making temporary layers and things like that. But this is our project areas, and this is what we're going to be working on. I'm going to go ahead and set it to fill color. I'm going to do it opaque. I like my project boundary to be red. It just stands out. Make the border a little heavier. There we go. Now we can see that against our DEMs that we have. Now these are all separate. You know, you can see that some of them may be needed, maybe not, but we're not going to worry about it right now. One of the things I want to do now is just merge these together. So I want to go to Raster. I'm going to hit, let's see if I can find it. It's merge, miscellaneous merge. So this is just for raster layers. So when I hit input, those are all the raster layers. This is a vector layer. So I'm going to add all of these and hit select all and hit OK. So you know what? I just want this to be a temporary file because there's a lot more stuff I'm going to do to it. So save temporary file, merged 14 of these small DMs together. I'm going to hit run. Now, the nice thing about me going through this process and validating it is most of this stuff is pretty quick. I mean, this computer that I'm working on is nothing like I have at work, nothing. You know, it costs like $500 without a monitor, and it's not a workstation. So that was one of the things that was holding me up on some of the processes. The processes had to be able to run on this, and you know, I was getting a little worried there for a while because some of the things I was doing, I wasn't used to using QGIS, and they were taking too long, but finally figured it out. So some of these take, you know, it seems like it might be taking a long time, but believe me, I did a lot of measuring of, I got a timer here on my desk, and you know, none of this stuff takes more than a minute or so. Okay, see, we got something done. There it is. So they're all merged together. So I want to keep those, you know, that group here. Keep it for reference. But here's all of all of them merged together into one file. So now we're getting somewhere. We're pre-staging stuff. So the next thing I want to do, let's see how I put them in my little notes here. Merge, feet, and resample. Okay. So next thing we're going to do, I'll go back to one of these original files and I want to look at the properties. But if you look at the information, this file is in meters, okay? Meters, the units in meters. And the vertical units are meters also. And we're going to convert this merged layer to feet using the raster calculator. You can see the layer here. This is merged. Now this is a temporary layer. So if you was to exit out of this file without saving that layer, if you just save the project, you're going to lose this. So be aware of that. I mean, that's the kind of the crux of saving those temporary files or doing things in temporary files. So, but we want to do this pretty quick so we don't lose it. So merged, and we're going to times it by, and I think I showed you this before. I like this website, and it's going to be in the references below. It's called Kyle's, meters to feet. It gives you lots of options here, but I'm just going to put 1 meter in there, and this is the conversion factor. But I want to take it out to 12. I just like 12. So we're going to multiply 1 meter by this value in the raster calculator. So go back here and paste it, and then we're going to save the file. So I want to save it as a GeoTIFF. GeoTIFF seems to be the, you know, like the default raster file for QGIS. I'm going to go to my project directory. I'm just going to type in DEM Cabal feet. So it's going to be in feet now. And hit OK. Now, for whatever reason, some of these things, it doesn't let you know that you're doing anything, and that's kind of one of those things. So I see my cursor spinning, and sometimes there's a status window that comes up, and there it is. And I don't know if you see that, it's behind. It's actually behind everything. So it doesn't do any good for me. I mean, I know it's working though. Kind of found that out by accident. So it's almost done. Now this, like I said, I wanted to make sure none of this stuff took too long, because you got to know that it's working. And sometimes, there it did. It said it was complete. Here's our DEM. It's attached to it. And now I'm going to turn this one off now and turn on the feet. So there it is. It doesn't look any different, but look at the values. Meters, feet. There's other references out there. We could check it, and I know this. So you need to know it yourself. You need to know that it's meters and that you're converting it to feet, because you always need to check for accuracy. And I think the best way is to look at other sources, but we're not going to look at other sources right now. We're going to continue on with our process here. So what are we going to do next? Because we're getting into, now it's getting pretty exciting, because now we want to start getting into what we originally want to do is to duplicate what we did up Ohio in stream stats. So that's just the first step. We got a DEM now that's in feet, and now we want to what are we going to do? Let's see. DEM resample. Okay, resample. So now this is starting to get into the toolbox area. So here is the toolbox. This is a little bit different setup than ArcMap, but this is a really nice set of tools over here, and it has a search built into it right here. So if I type in resample, I see a lot of different resample commands that are filtered. The one that we want to use is just the simple one, the plain one, r.resample. And the grass seems to have most of the commands that I typically use. I always go to grass. I mean, there's a lot of other, if you take that filter off, there's a lot of other options there. But I typically go to that area of the toolbox, and then because it has a lot of different categories of commands, and we're using the raster commands. And look at all these raster commands. So it's really pretty powerful. And you just seen that the resample was down there and it was highlighted. So let's go ahead and click that. So how easy is this? So what we want to do is that DEM is actually, and I've done this, and this is what it took me so long about all these processes, because if I didn't resample it, some other thing took too long. And at the national level where they're doing this stuff and they're doing that extraction of the basin, it's at 30 meters. This one's 3. So I thought, well, let's change it to 30. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to resample the DEM in feet. We're going to resample it to 30. And I'm going to say, I want to save this file. Let me put that value in there first. Resample, advance. And I'm not sure why this isn't open to show that, that you actually got to put a resample value in there. I don't, because, and then they have it at 0. So we're going to make it 30 instead of 3. I'll leave this one blank, and I want to save it to a file. I'm going to go back to my project directory. I'm just going to say, I'm going to make sure I know this is resampled. So I'm going to put 30 on there. Just to kind of remind me that that's the resampled one. So I'll hit save. Save 30, run. There it is. We got it. I'll turn this one off and turn on the resample one. I don't like that it puts it on there with its own name, because that's not my file name. So if I hit properties, you can see that that was saved to my project directory as what I typed in, but that's not how it attached it. I'm going to take this off. This is the feet unresampled. If we need it, we'll bring it back in. And then merged one, I'll remove that one too. Let's just remove all of them because I don't like the name of that. So I'm going to put them back on there. So add layer, raster, project directory. So here it is in feet. And here it is resampled. Regular, resampled. And see what that did? Just make the cells a little bit bigger. So here's the resample. Here's the original 3 meter, 30 meter, 3 meter, 30 meter. So we're going to be using the 30 meter to run this hydrology, because our next step is this. We want to stream extract. Going back to the toolbox. Stream extract right there. Okay, so we're going to use the resampled one, input accumulation. Now that's what these references are I have back here. Because we're going to do it twice. We're going to do it with 2000 and 200. And I want to show you the difference. So on these settings, the flow accumulation, I'm going to do 2000 first. And that's really the only thing we need to set on there. Let me look at it again. And we're not going to save these layers right now, especially the 2000 one. We're just going to hurry up and run it. And this would be extremely slow if we were doing it on the 3 meter one. Because I did it, and you know what? I don't see any difference. Visual is big key. Visual check is the first check. So this is setting up the stream network. It's putting all these hydrology points on the stream network. These are some really nice tools. And you can see that, well, it might take a little while, but you know, it's not abnormally long. What I was doing with that 3 meter, it was not working. And I literally let it sit overnight at one point, and it just did not work. There's some memory issues, and you're going to have those if you don't do this resample. So we're done. We extracted the stream. So we're going to turn off the DEM, and let's look at the results of this. So here's the flow direction for the county. And this is what we're going to get, and this is going to be awesome. And then here's the, we don't really need these, but these are the node points where the streams come together. And then here is the streams as they were depicted with our 2000 value. Now 2000, how did I pick that? Well, it started out as like 2 square miles. That's pretty good value. So I put 2000 in there just to see. And there's a lot of math to this, but I don't think you have to overthink it. But one of the things that it didn't seem to give me enough detail, because I wanted all the streams going out to all the boundaries. You know, I want to see them all stopping out here at the Cabell County boundary. And I didn't see that on this. So the next value I chose was just, okay, 200. Let's just try 200. So let's do that. I'm going to take off these values here on the temporary files. We did. We'll take that off. We're just going to run that again with 200, and I'll show you the difference. And I would advise you to check your county and make sure you have that granularity and adjust those numbers. So we got the right file in there. This is the 30 meter cell DEM. even though we changed the vertical elevation, the horizontal is still meters, and it's still, the cell value is still in meters. So when we changed it from 3 meters to 30, you know, it didn't change it to feet. Only the vertical is what we changed. Flow accumulation 200. Okay, so here we go. Run. Oh, there it is. Got it going. Putting all the points in there for the nodes of the streams. And that value means there's going to be more. We made a smaller value, more streams. And these are being extracted from the DEM. So it's all about elevation. You know, we're calling them streams, but they're not streams. They're, you know, they're virtual. They're oh, I forget the term that they use. But, you know, it's derived. It's all math. It's all numbers derived from these raster files. Very powerful software. This will take a little bit longer since the number is so low, but you'll be able to see it, and you've seen it in the beginning. You know how much detail was in it. So now what we'll be able to do is we'll be able to establish a drainage basin anywhere. Just have to be patient. Believe me, this is worth the wait. You know, I think on a bigger county, obviously, it would take a little bit longer. I don't know. If you run into problems, you might even want to mess with the resampling. You know, maybe make it a little bit bigger. But this is what worked for Cabell. And now here we go. So we got the nodes, lots of them. Got the unique streams. This is just like we had in the beginning. Then we had our flow direction. So this is it. I mean, we're ready. We have to save these files because they're temporary, but now, as we showed you in the beginning, you can click anywhere. We set up the project coordinates to match the DEM. So that's what lets me do this. So if I go here and type in, what's that other one? Watershed outlet, water outlet. That's what it was, water outlet. If I go to the water outlet, the thing that lets me now select the coordinates, I'm going to use the flow direction and get the coordinates now that they match, now that my project coordinates match this layer's projection. I can click on those string points and hit run. And that's what lets me create these basins. And that's awesome. So anyway, let's do that real quick. Flow direction, save as, geotiff, my project directory. dir. Remove the temporary one. I'm not going to save the points. I don't think I need them. Remove the basin real quick. But I'm going to save the streams. Geotiff, dir. I'm going to keep that 3 character designation. Just call it STR. Save. Okay. There it is. We've staged it and we're ready. We're ready for next time. So that's all I have today. Pick you out some of those watersheds on your county and points on your streams. Calculate some basins. Enjoy.